$9.5 million in armor, 33,000 in drones. Who survives that math? Today, you'll watch a Russian column of T-72s and T-80s roll toward a key intersection and learn how a three-man Ukrainian network, operating from a bunker in a nearby MiG-29, turns low-cost FPVs into formation killers. We'll dissect the turret ring hit that stalls the wedge, the engine deck strike that cooks off ammo, and the final missile that ends the chase. Stay to see how a $33,000 playbook dismantles a multi-million-dollar thrust, and what that means for the next fight you'll read about. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. 7 tanks in a wedge, a 2S1 tucked behind them. The first strike doesn't come from guns. It comes from a hobby quad that stays online when it should be blind. The network runs on 3 nodes. SK rides a Mavic for steady eyes just above tree line. Kestrel programs the FPVs, dials and flight paths, and fuses. Falcon 1 circles high enough for a clean shot line, low enough to dodge the worst of ground radar. All 3 feet of bunker 10 clicks away, concrete roof, diesel hum, 2 screens per operator. You don't need a tower of servers for this.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said before he'll consider peace talks, Russia must meet one condition.
Stop shelling us, stop killing civilians.
It wants to continue to brutalize the Ukrainian people, wants to continue to shell their cities and towns.
In the last 12 months, Russia has killed tens of thousands of Ukrainian men, women, and children.
Uprooted more than 13 million people from their homes, bombed more than 700 hospitals, and yet the spirit of the Ukrainians remains unbroken. If anything, it's stronger than ever.
You need latency that beats a turret traverse. At 10:03, the recon feed stutters, then smears into gray. Russian EW wakes up and throws a blanket over the lane. The steel line doesn't slow. If the eyes go blind, the web dies. The operators don't talk much. One calls the climb. Altitude bump, 5 meters. Nothing. Lateral slip, 20 meters east, skirting the tree row that hides a gap in the jamming cone. The return comes back in slices. A turret stub, a heat plume, a dust wake. By 10:08, they hold a partial link. It's ugly but usable. The map rebuilds itself in blocks. You can fight on that. Vulnerability lives in angles, not armor brochures. The turret ring is a seam where heavy plate meets movement. A small charge there can wedge gears and pin the gun. Rear aspect hits on T-72 and T-80 exploit thin deck plates over a hot engine and gearbox. You don't need to punch through the thickest glassy if you can choke the power. Stowed rounds make the risk worse. Any blast that ruptures propellant can send pressure into places steel can't vent fast enough. A tiny warhead hunts for weak points and chain reactions. The strike stack builds in order, not volume. First FPV goes for the lead tank's ring, right where the turret meets the hull on the left quarter. The goal isn't a kill, it's a stall. Lock the nose of the wedge and you turn a spear into scrap traffic. Second drone angles wide, then drops in at the T-80's rear fan, cutting low to avoid active protection and skirting the grill to the engine deck seam. You're aiming for heat and fuel lines, things that hate shock and flame.
Ukraine and Russia are exchanging fire on multiple fronts. Bridges are being destroyed, cities are burning, and oil depots are under attack.
All right, in other news, Russia has conducted fresh strikes on Ukraine's Zaporizhia region. Ukraine says Russian forces carried out 567 attacks over the last 24 hours.
At least 7 people were injured in a missile strike, while 2 others were hospitalized, and 23 private homes, 12 apartment buildings, and a post office suffered damage.
Third shifts to the 2S1. It's the gun that feeds the formation with indirect cover, and its ammo rack rides high. Exposed shells give a small drone big effect. Why this order? Stop the lead, and the column loses momentum. Smack the gun, and Overwatch goes silent. Hit the loader, and you poison the formation with fear. Tanks fight in teams. Break the team logic, and metal turns clumsy. A road-bound wedge with a dead nose and no umbrella starts to weave, backs into ditches, tramples fields. open side plates to angles they'd never accept on a range. All of that for a fraction of the cost. One recon quad and 3 FPVs trade into multiple main battle tanks and a self-propelled gun. You're not buying armor thickness. You're buying time, angles, and the right hit sequence. That spread flips the old book on its head and forces new rules. It's the same David versus Goliath frame. But David now runs a mesh network that sees and strikes faster than a diesel can spool. The recon feed flags a T-72 that peels out, smoke light, crew trying to save distance. Falcon 1 gets the cue. Nose dips. Missile in, straight to the engine bay. No fireworks, just a hard stop and heat bleed. The loop closes, ground eyes, low drone, then jet. 3 layers, 1 outcome. That kind of kill web lands beyond this road. It tells every armor planner that survival now lives from 0 to 500 meters above the dirt. It warns that a tank's best face doesn't matter if the threat comes from the side, the rear, or a blind quarter. You counter with better jamming, smarter decoys, or swarms that outnumber theirs, and you push those tools down to platoon level. Meanwhile, this fight asks you a simple question. If you had to pick the next dollar, do you put it into EW, into dummy targets, or into a thicker, faster swarm that learns mid-flight? Comment your choice below.
Biggest Russian drone and missile attack of the war. Ukraine says Moscow fired 550 drones and 11 missiles overnight.
To Russia launching a massive aerial assault against Ukraine, the biggest since the invasion more than 3 years ago.
Rescue workers say 1 person died and 26 were injured.
Superiority now lives low, in the near-ground air. The side with the tighter network wins, not the one with thicker steel. Sensors link to shooters. Shooters feed back to sensors, and the loop outruns any turret. If you track how small teams break big machines, subscribe. Then weigh in. Do you put the next dollar into EW that blinds, decoys that soak fire, or smarter swarms that adapt mid-flight? Comment your choice below. This is the story of cheap eyes and precise hands rewriting armor math. The lesson pushes down to squads, up to brigades, and across the map to the next road.